Yep, come over here. Hello. Hi, everyone. Sorry we're late. Little technical difficulty. Welcome to Leprechaun Alley and welcome from Long Island. I am Carrie, Ray Carrie Perillo, and this
I'm
is
Michael G. Perillo.
We are astrologers. We do live readings that involve combining Western and Chinese astrology, what we're typically accustomed to. And later on as well, we're going to be doing presentations using Vedic astrology and discussing the charts of various people upon request.
What we do that is different from most astrologers, and not all astrologers.
Well, our approach to astrology, sure.
Yes. How we treat astrology is that we use two systems that we can read off the top of our heads because we know it really well. But we use the Chinese moon astrology. It's based on the lunar calendar, and Western astrology, which is based on the sun. It's called solar astrology. We do not give live readings on the Jyotish astrology from India because that requires calculations, and you cannot really. We could describe the way they treat astrology, but we'll get that into a more advanced sessions.
Yeah, there will be some live presentations that I will be doing using Vedic astrology. I just have to decide how I'm going to organize and coordinate that.
Well, because Vedic astrology requires a lot of calculations, and the only meaning that we get out of the Jyotish is that we can do something that they call predictive astrology. Now, Western astrology is absolutely useless for predictive astrology.
Well,
and Chinese astrology has some value, but we'll make this clearer as the sessions go on and we become more and more technical. But for the time being, we want to keep it simple so we can keep it interesting. And we can also show you in our live sessions how we interpret when we combine the Western astrology with the Chinese astrology. And hopefully you'll find it interesting. So today, we don't have callers in yet. So we will continue with some reading of Western astrology. Where we left off was with Gemini and Mercury. We were describing the sun signs.
We went to Cancer, actually. We did describe Cancer.
No, we did not get into the moon.
Yeah, we did. Last show, we started talking about Cancer and the moon. Yes. Remember, and then we
began Cancer. I don't believe we finished Cancer.
We're pretty close, and we can always cover it again.
All right, so
we had quite a bit of discussion about the moon because then we started discussing our own moons afterward.
Yeah, and next preceding presentations, we will start getting into a more thorough part of Western astrology, especially as we give live readings. You'll start to see how these two systems can be used. So we'll then continue with Leo. We've been using the sun sign to start with the planets. So Leo is the fifth sign of the zodiac. It is a fire sign. It is ruled by the sun. We'll be back. Okay, Carrie will be back. She has to take care of something urgent, of course. So we'll get to Leo. Leo is ruled by the sun. Yes, I do remember us talking about Cancer, and we said that there are two luminaries, which astrologers refer to luminaries and the other 8 planets as planets, just so to keep it simple, instead of having to say, oh, their astrology contains 8 planets and 2 luminaries. We just call it all planets, and we say there are 10 planets that are used to describe astrology. Now, I'll just add this at this point, for those who know something about astrology, we do not use the outer planets, which are Neptune, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. And the reason we do not use those, and the ancient astrologers never use them, because these planets take so long to go around one orbit that in order to assign it to an individual, we'd have to wait 7 years for Uranus to make its revolution around the sun. So we wouldn't be able to talk about people until 7 years have gone by, which is fruitless, because people are changing every moment, let alone having to wait 7 years. And of course, Neptune takes about 14 years through one cycle around the orbit of the sun, and Pluto takes 39 years. So these planets are really considered generation planets. They deal with generations, they deal with long periods of time, and they're more adequately useful to describe how societies work, how governments work. We see that over time, governments change, countries change, they even change their names. And we can see with those planets, we can describe how those things may affect, those planets affect generations. We'll get more into that as we end up the first 12 signs of the zodiac. So getting back to Leo, Leo is ruled by the sun. Now, Cancer and Leo are ruled by the two luminaries, moon and the sun. These are considered planets which have a greater effect on us, sun being more important, the sun being second most important. If we go into further astrology, we'll find that there is an ascendant, there's a midheaven. These are positions of the Earth as they face the universe and all of the planets. And we'll talk a little bit more about them as we give live readings. And eventually we will start to give that information as we get into the more technical aspects of astrology. So getting back to Leo, Leo is ruled by the sun. The sun is considered magnificent. It is the creator of life. And Leo, of course, is a sign that considers itself magnificent. At its most powerful aspect, Leo is very considered having a lot of honor. They have prestige. The negative side of this is that they're overbearing on others. The positive side is that they tend to be honest and they're bold and they're supportive of humankind. They will tend to honor those that they love and those that they associate with. And they are scrupulous. They'll tend to not lie. They will tend to always want to be honest and truthful and want meaningfulness between people. In any event, let's get back.
Incredibly creative.
Well, Leo is a creative sign.
Yes. You'll see a lot of Leo artists.
Yes, and Leo, of course, ruled by the month that Leo occupies in the Chinese calendar is the year of the monkey. Right. So Leo has the monkey as one of its qualities. And what we know about the monkey is that they mimic. They learn quickly by mimicking. And Leo recognizes what other people want. So Leo tends to be a promoter. Like the sun, it promotes growth. Yes. And Leo promotes ideas into action. So you'll find a lot of good contractors and people who are very talented with their hands coming out of the sign Leo. Leo is also notorious for being a good salesman, as of course the monkey is considered to be a good salesman. China says that the monkey can sell quicksand to a prospective buyer while they're standing in the quicksand, and as the buyer is sinking in the quicksand, Leo has the buyer sign the contract. That is how good they are, and that is because Leo sees himself, he's selling himself, and he's very convincing. He's not selling a thing, he is selling himself, and he puts himself on the line.
So what's interesting, I wanted to say, because you were saying they can sell quicksand. A really good example, the perfect person, I've actually been just kind of listening to him the last couple of days, is Milton Friedman, who was an economist, and he won a Nobel Peace Prize for coming up with an argument to state that greed is good.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
He's a Leo. He's also Year of the Rat.
And he makes a convincing argument.
And he won a Nobel Peace Prize for it.
Right. That this is part of the legacy of the Leo. So what we have in Leo is, because the sun is the most awesome power of our solar system.
But let me say this. I do want to say, though, Leos are generous people. So, yes.
Well, they're considered to have big hearts. This is the positive side, the positive side of Leo.
And the Leo and the monkey, while they are generous, they want to be appreciated. They want to be acknowledged. That's important.
They have a lot of tolerance until they get mad.
Right.
And then we know Leo has great fits of passionate anger. Passionate. because passion and Leo are synonymous. Of course, the passionate signs, and according to the China, are the signs that correspond to the Western zodiac of the fire group, which is Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Of course, Leo being the fixed fire sign, it is the great passionate sign. When they get angry, it is with passion. We know about monkeys. When monkeys tend to be okay until they get angry, then they will do all kinds of nasty things. And we may not be able to, maybe it's not right to express some of the things that Leo will do, which is comical in one way. It can be offensive to some
We can
people.
swear a little on this because we didn't.
Well, what China says about the monkey is that when they get angry, they'll spit, they'll bite, they'll scratch, they'll kick, they'll slap you. And if you were to put the monkey in a cage so he wouldn't harm you, don't worry. He'll take his turds and throw it through the cage and at you.
That's right.
So this is how angry the monkey will get. And we know about chimpanzees when they get angry, they can kill.
I was thinking. Oh, go ahead.
No, go. You can.
If you're finished with your thought, I'm sorry.
No, I'm finished.
So I think what would be interesting is, because we can actually talk about two different economists for a little bit in this segment, because Richard Wolff, he is a Marxist economist.
He is an Aries, by the way.
And he is an Aries, who is also year of the horse. So now we have a rat relative to year of the horse, and we have the Leo.
What rat? How did the rat come into
Milton Friedman is a water rat.
Well, right. Then, you should say that. But Milton
Friedman. Leo rat, right. So I thought it would be a fun time to kind of...
they're opposites, and the rat and the horse are opposites, right?
Yes.
What she is saying is that Milton Friedman was the year of the rat, and Richard Wolff is the year of the horse. They happen to be two signs that are opposite each other in China, and they correspond to the horse being the month of Gemini, and the rat being the opposite sign of Gemini as Sagittarius. So it's interesting that they have opposite viewpoints, and they happen to be born in opposite Chinese signs.
Yeah, and furthermore, I thought it was interesting because Richard Wolff is, his emphasis and his focus is on the individual, on the people, on the little guy.
Right.
And the Aries is the sign of the child.
Right, and it's about personal.
It's about personal, right?
Whereas,
and that you're treated with respect by your employer.
Right.
Your life, your work life, is about being cooperative with other people who want to do the same thing.
So Richard Wolff is more concerned about how the individual is affected.
Right.
The horse being on the what we call the subjective side of the Western zodiac.
Yes.
And Sagittarius, or the rat, which was Greenstein. What was his name?
Milton Friedman.
Friedman. He was born in the year of the rat, which sits on the objective side of Western astrology. So he's dealing more with how he should affect society, whereas Wolff was more concerned about how was it affecting the individual. But to say a little more about the sun. The sun deals with the constitution. It deals with your physical body's health, general health nature, and the presence of the way the body is structured. So a lot of Leos tend to be very healthy, very strong, and people born in the year of the horse have a lot of energy. In fact, China says about people born in the year of the horse, they have unlimited energy, unlimited resource to work. They can go and go and go and go. And what do we know about the Leo? Leo is ruled by the sun. So Leonians tend to have a lot of strength. In fact, many of the Leos that I know are incredibly hard workers.
A lot of them in martial arts.
And never stop working.
Yeah.
They never stop working. So this is one of the qualities that come from the sun. So when we look at astrology and say, does it really work? Why is it then that when we look at Leos, we tend to see this quality that it comes directly from the sun? When we look at other signs, for instance, like Pisces, who has a much more, let's say, vulnerable constitution, because they're ruled by Jupiter, and it does not really bring out the strength of the individual, but rather the way that individual expresses themselves through knowledge. rather than through physical endeavors.
Right, it's more passive, right? Maybe have
Well,
yeah,
you can say it's more
kind of,
passive.
yeah,
It's
feminine.
you have to look at the deeper aspects of that sign with Jupiter ruling, or the Pisces and Sagittarius ruled by Jupiter. Whereas with Leo, it is very, very clearly obvious that they have inner strength. Now, the
Yes,
interesting thing is that they're the only two signs that are ruled each by one planet, or what we call the luminaries.
right.
Whereas the other signs all share they all share in pairs a particular planet. Just as when we went to Aries, we said Aries is ruled by Mars, but we didn't mention the other sign it rules, which we will get to, which is Scorpio. And when we look at Taurus, we did say that it was ruled by Venus, but the other sign that Venus rules is Libra. When we go to the sign Gemini, we said that Gemini is ruled by Mercury, but the other sign that Mercury rules is Virgo. So you see that the other planets each take two signs. So now I think, what you want to say any more about Leo, because we are keeping this as superficial as possible, but still give enough information so that we can show validity.
Oh, yeah, maybe we could go into the sun, and then we can go into how the sun looks in ours and discuss the planet, and then how the sun
Oh,
looks in
right,
our
we can
chart.
describe the way the sun sign
Right.
works in each of us.
I apologize, I just wanna let you know. So, I do take, and I guess, this is something I can't overcome. I do take, still have to take chemotherapy medicine, and even if I take it the night before, sometimes it just doesn't agree with me. So sometimes I duck in and out, and I apologize, but it's just going to be kind of part of what we do.
Well, we don't have to
So,
say that now.
but we can
Whenever
no,
that
I
occurs.
just let them know because they see me going in and out. So
Right, but
just
then you
yeah,
can say, I just have to leave for a
yeah.
minute. Then.
So
In any event, now that we've said this much,
so
we'll
let's talk about
describe
the
the sun
sun.
sign as it affects myself as an Aries and Carrie as a Sagittarian. It happens that we're both considered fire signs in the Western
And
zodiac.
the sun is exalted in Aries.
Yes, now there are positions that each planet has, which is strong, which is exceptional, which is weak, and which it has a great failure, because they have friends and enemies. At least in astrology, we express it that way to indicate that these planets take on various qualities as they move around the sun. So the sun is exalted. If we said that it is exalted, every planet has a position of exaltation, a position of rulership, a position of detriment, and a position of fall. It happens that the sun rules Leo, but it is exalted in its friendly sign, another fire sign, which happens to be my sign,
Right.
Aries. So what does that mean? That means that the sun's strength is greatest in the sign Aries. And so
Which
we
makes
say,
sense, right?
April showers bring May flowers. In other words, the sun rises in Aries, and that is why it is exalted. And what it does in Aries is shown up in the next sign, Taurus.
Right.
This is where we get this April showers for Aries, May flowers, Taurus. And why Taurus? Taurus is a fixed sign, and the sun takes on fixed qualities. Whatever the sun is doing through Aries is shown up in Taurus,
Right.
the fixed sign where the benefit of that planet is brought out most. So Arians happen to have strong energy because the sun is exalted. Whereas in Carrie, she has the sun in Jupiter, is not exactly in a bad place,
Yeah, it's happy.
but
We're in-
it's
we're in
but it's
friendly
not
turf.
as strong as in Aries.
Right.
It isn't a friendly sign as well because, first of all, Jupiter is a benefic planet,
Right.
which rules Sagittarius, and because the sun sits in a fire sign, so it's comfortable there. So Sagittarians tend to be exalted in the way they bring out, let's say, the more esoteric aspects of energy are brought out through Sagittarius.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas in Aries, you see the raw form of energy.
Right.
The Arian is on the
Right.
go, always doing. Well, that's what Aries is notorious for. Do, constantly doing, which is what Mars is known for, is to be direct. Whereas Jupiter is more pensive.
Right.
It tends to sit into its mind and wonder what the world is like. Well, in Aries, the saying for Aries is "I do," but the saying for Sagittarius is I see, for they now become the philosopher.
Right.
So the sun takes on sort of a universal aspect to itself, whereas in Aries, it's more earthly. It's very earth oriented. It affects the earth more than it does anything else.
Right. Yes.
So you want to say anything more about?
I do. So something else I wanted to look at. Well, one of the things that I definitely want to bring forward is also that our signs, each sign represents different stages of our development, spiritual development.
Well, different stages of consciousness.
And different stages of consciousness.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And so, and also, and it doesn't have to do with your sun sign or your moon sign. One is better than the other. That's not even an issue. Before we come in, us and our soul group are having conversations and making decisions by which best to come and do whatever project we're here to accomplish and grow from each incarnation. And so the soul is also represented by the sun that represents the soul. And so it would make, it represents spirituality. Yeah. Well, in Vedic astrology anyway.
In Vedic astrology, yes, but I don't see that in the Western. And
so what I want to say in that front is that it makes sense that the Aries would be a raw form of consciousness, because they already come equipped with a certain level of bravery, a certain level of orientation, assertiveness, right, to get things done.
What we would like to remind everyone is that we are not reading from any textbook, nor did we prepare for anything. This is coming straight out of our heads for the first time, or of course, in the years that we've been practicing astrology.
Yeah, we want to participate in live organic discussion with
what we've done in the past. We have, of course, repeated many of these things, but not the exact same way, so that you know that this is coming out of our heads. You can see that the value of it is understood by us. We don't have to go and be briefed by any textbook. So when we do live readings, the same thing will occur. We will be reading just out of the knowledge that we already have. When we start to do complex horoscopes and readings, then we may do calculations to get a better understanding. And when we get to that level, we will describe what we actually do.
Well, a lot of times, right, it's like, it's kind of like being, going to the doctor's office, right? Most of the time, they're just treating common colds or some sniffles, or they just can't get this thing to let up that. And so, in our conversations where we're just having a conversation with everyone, then it's more like that. But then we get into something that's a little bit more difficult and challenging to solve, then we kind of have to drill down a little bit more into some really interesting specific information.
So should we continue with the next sign?
I wanted to just kind of have a conversation about, finish up with the sun in Jupiter. So I would see it, so the way that I would view it is that the Aries, or the Aries person, they come really very clear about who they are. It's not something that you think, it's very instinctive.
To give you another,
it's automatic.
Another look at what happens with these Aries being where the sun is exalted. It is said that when the sun and Mars are together, Mars is considered a malefic sign. When Mars is near the sun, it takes on a benefic quality. It is considered positive energy. This is another reason why you would see that the sun is exalted in Aries.
You wake up perky every day like that.
And the sun is considered, Aries is considered where the sun is most powerful, because it is with the planet Mars. When Mars then becomes very positive in its energy form.
So by the time we get to Jupiter and we're looking at the sun in Jupiter, so you have a different situation where we've gone through a variety of processes that we need to go through. And now the sun is more, we're looking at higher learning. We're looking at higher knowledge. We're looking at more of a philosophical spirituality.
One of the things that I should say, which is probably advanced astrology, and that is that Jupiter tends to snub out the negative side of them, as they snub other people down, and they're considered by other people to be
I can be a snob,
So they're considered to be somewhat of a snob. What is interesting is that one reason for that is that the sun and Jupiter there is a little competition here because Jupiter is very large, not as large as the sun, but it makes a competition to the sun. So Jupiterian people,
it's inherent in the fire signs.
So Sagittarian people will tend to snub out other sun signs because they're ruled by the largest planet.
Right.
Of course, Jupiter also rules Pisces, which we will get to when we get to Pisces. And you'll see how Pisceans will snub out people, but not the way Sagittarius does.
And honestly, on the other fire signs, Aries and Leo could really care less.
Right.
Because they know who they are.
Well, Leo is ruled by the sun, so they know that they're the greatest. At least they believe they are.
That's right. So if the Sag wants to be a snob, they're going to be like,
when you meet Leo people, they just inherently feel that they're at the top of the totem pole, I guess, in terms of astrology.
And not from it's not even a moralizing thing. It's
no, they're just filled with themselves.
Once you start, you studied it for so long and you just see the essence. It's really something. His sister is a Leo.
Right. And my brother is a Leo.
Generous and philosophical, very bright.
They can be very philosophical, yes. The thing is that the Leo expresses its ego outwardly. Now, remember that we said there are two luminaries.
Oh, hi, Newport Perique. Welcome.
So they are the only two, Leo and Cancer, the only two ruled by one entity of space, so the luminaries.
So what we need, Newport, for the reading is all we need to do, this is going to be Western and Chinese that we do live, and that's going to be a combination of your birthday and the year that you were born. Oh, look how perfect.
What?
Her birthday is August 18th, 1992. It was like she was reading our mind.
Wow,
Isn't
double
that
monkey.
We were just talking about
double monkey.
That's
fantastic. It happens that the 92 happens to be a water monkey, and the monkey is the Chinese sign that occupies the sign Leo. So Leo, August 18th, is it?
Yeah, August 18th.
It was Elizabeth's birthday, August 18th.
Oh, yeah.
August 18th is a Leo, and the year is Leo. Well, we have a very clever person here. Very clever. And because not only is it the monkey, and the monkey is notorious for learning quickly because it mimics and it learns quickly, which also means that monkeys can get frustrated around people because they will mimic good and bad. And oftentimes monkeys have to get away from the people they know very well.
That are bad influences on them,
because if they're bad influence, the monkey tends to start taking that quality. And so monkeys, in order to save themselves, need to move away. One of the things we did not mention about the monkey is that, well, we did sort of hint at it when we said that they sell quicksand. Monkeys are promoters. They sell everything because they not only have an idea, but they place their own...
Hold on one moment. Oh, and her husband's is, how I love this. Oh my God, these guys are perfect. So her husband's birthday is the 5th of September, 1990. So we have a Leo monkey married to a Virgo horse.
Well,
but we're going to talk about the monkey first, and then we'll go.
Well, this combination, there's going to be a struggle for power. The horse wants to show off, and the monkey wants to be the one that knows everything. They compete. They can attract very strongly to each other, but because the horse is very independent and it wants to move around when it wants to, and the Virgo being the year of the cock or the chicken, we have someone who is, here's a
1990
a cock horse.
Yep, cock horse.
This is the metal horse. So this person is tough as nails.
Yeah.
And he sticks to his guns. And he's a purist. So when he makes up his mind, he believes that everything is based on the way he thinks, the way he feels. He's sensitive to the environment. The monkey could care less about what the environment cares because the monkey resides within itself.
Right.
And it promotes itself outwardly. And so it always promotes itself from a place where it's sure-footed. The horse, on the other hand, is more temperamental.
Oh, here we go. Oh, so she's separated. Oh, want to know if they can get back together or so.
Well, there'd have to be concessions made here, and the horse would be the one to kind of like let up on their let's say their regimented idea of themselves. Horses tend to feel that they're pristine. The monkey, on the other hand, just has a great ego. They can be sloppy or they can be neat, and it doesn't matter. They are comfortable in their clothes. They're comfortable in their skin. The horse, on the other hand, is very, very conscientious of how they appear on the outside, especially the metal horse. Now, keep in mind that we don't, in every readings, we don't describe every sign, but the horse in this year is metal. But there are
In
five elements.
1990 yeah, let's
In
discuss.
China, there are five
briefly
elements
discuss
for every
that.
animal.
And then I'll discuss the because she's wanting to know about destiny.
So we
and
have
all
to
that,
know
so
that
we'll have
we have to know that
conversation.
the element of the monkey's natural element is
Is
metal. But
right.
but what's her name?
This is, I took my glasses off. It's
Well,
beautiful.
we should write these down so that we have
I
them.
hope we're pronouncing this correctly. It's Nupur, Nupur, N-U-P-U-R. Here, I'll write it down so you can
Nupur.
read it.
Nupur.
Yeah,
Could be
it's very pretty.
maybe Indian.
Nupur, yeah, Nupur Paris.
Nupur. Okay.
Yeah, it's
So-
definitely in that.
So Nupur is water, and the husband is metal. These two should get along. They really do not hurt each other because water
That's her
defends
person.
metal. So you're his friend more than he is your friend. He is supposed to generate your energy. Metal, according to China, when it melts, it produces water, and water protects metal. So the wife is protecting the husband. Can
Right.
they get together? It would be, the only difficulty here is that the Leo is not going to make concessions.
No.
They are easy to get along with,
Yes.
but once
That's
they have
right.
habits, those habits are not going to change. They become rather permanent. The horse, on the other hand, can change, but it takes a long time.
Right.
And horses can be very stubborn. You know the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. The other problem with the horse, which is not true of the monkey, is that when the monkey makes an insult to someone, they know they did.
Right.
But the horse is not aware of what they do wrong.
He just says stupid things.
So
Yeah, and it hurts
the old
people's
saying,
feelings. Yeah.
it came out of the horse's mouth. And they say things that oftentimes can injure, and they are completely oblivious to it because they just blurt things out. The other thing about the horse is that China says you have to be careful when you're around the horse. You don't need to get the horse angry. In order to get a monkey to do something wrong, you really have to make them lose their patience. And monkeys have a lot of patience.
Monkeys have a lot of
But
patience.
horses can lose it without anything happening. What China says about you and the horse is, be careful when you stand close to the horse, because if he doesn't kick you in the gut, which in human language means that he's rough, he can be callous, he can be indifferent. Well, if he doesn't kick you in the gut, he will shit on your feet,
Yeah.
which means things come out of their mouth and they wind up messing things up when they didn't really intend to do it. So you have to tolerate the horse because of its changeability. And the horses
Yeah.
will move directions at an instant notice or
Some-
no notice.
Right, like sometimes they'll just kind of be crude or say things that are rude to other people, and you're just like, ugh.
And the other problem with
Yeah.
your
Like,
husband,
no, I don't want to know.
the other
Don't say
problem
that.
with your husband is that he's born in the year of the chicken. He could be
Oh no, he's born year of the horse. He's month of the chicken or month of the cock. He's year of
I
the
mean,
horse.
the month of the chicken.
Right.
He's the year of the horse, the month of the chicken.
Yeah.
Both the horse and the chicken are considered mutable signs in Western astrology. Mutable being the end of a season. The Gemini is the end of spring. Virgo is the end of summer. What does this mean? There is a duality with both of these conditions.
Right.
So he has double qualities both in his east and western signs, whereas the wife, Napur, is a
Napur.
Napur is fixed in both positions. Leo is the month of the monkey, and the monkey is the sign that represents Leo. They're fixed positions. So it can be stubborn, but not necessarily stubborn, but unchangeable. So that they tend to do the same things rather well, and they insist on it, unless there's a really good reason to change. Whereas with the mutable signs,
And
they change.
they're very reasonable.
Right, the monkey can be extremely reasonable,
Yeah.
but they have preferences that will almost always come through. Whereas the husband, we don't have a name, right?
Let's Yeah, she just said husband.
All right, so the
yeah.
husband, he is mutable in his heart, because the Chinese zodiac deals more with your inner matter. I call it the heart, just to make it easier to understand. And the month tends to deal with the mind or the intellect or the way the mind deciphers information. Both of these are mutable, so he changes in his mind a lot.
Right. I just want to say something kind of more from a coaching perspective. So, and when we get into problems with people, for example, for him, for example, he's going to be more intellectual, more mental, more in his head. And you're someone, I mean, it rules, Leo
He can
rules,
be, but
right?
he, but
And
he can
Leo,
also be an asshole. That's another.
yes, yes,
The
but all
asshole
of that's
comes
Mercury.
when
That's
we call
all
people
Mercury.
assholes. They're probably horses.
Right. And but in the and the moon, you're like you live in your heart. You operate from a very feeling
Well, a more
place.
pure place.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas the chicken is not certain; it's changing. Remember, and also the chicken can be somewhat unfeeling.
Right.
What is said about the chicken, and again, let's try to
her
remember
husband's name, she
that the
put.
chicken,
I'll write it down.
which could be either a cock type or male type, a rooster, they call it the rooster here in the United States, or it could be any bird. And what we know about the birds is that water rolls down the feathers, down their backs. So you can't insult them all that easy. The horse will make a big deal about insults,
How dare you?
which they don't really believe in themselves.
Right.
They just simply react to things. So he tends to be more of a reactionist, whereas you, Napur, tend to remain more constant in your way.
And may
But
act like
persistent.
he's more moral and superior.
He
to
will
other
act as the
people.
more moral
I'm
because he's
really
the
having
horse.
problems. I'm so
Remember,
sorry.
horses are known for their elegance in the way they move and the way they trot. So he tends to be proud of himself, even as he makes a mess of things. This would be true of the horse. But remember, the horse has got other qualities which are very good. They're strong. They have almost endless amount of energy. That's very different from the monkey's energy. The monkey thrives on accomplishment. The horse thrives on just doing something rather than standing still. Many people who understand the nature of the horse say, if you want your horse to die, keep him in the stable. But if you want him to stay healthy, let him run. And that's what the problem with the horse is. He would have been difficult to attract because the horse likes to run away. And China says, if you want the horse to stay with you, let him go free. And if he returns, he is yours forever. So to answer your question, will you get back together? It will depend more on him than on you. You have a position of, let's say, memory, feelings that you were attached to, that you're not willing to let go that easy. The horse doesn't have a problem with letting go of feeling, because they don't know what they really want, and neither does the chicken. The chicken runs in the farm all over the place in every direction. And what does the horse do? The same thing. If you see him in the wild, he runs one way, then he stops all of a sudden for no reason at all, and he turns around and he runs in another direction. Their strengths are that they know their environment. They're very conscientious of where they are, who they're with, who their friends are. They can be very particular about that. The monkey, on the other hand, makes friends with the few that they do. They make very deep friendships. The horse makes more of a shallow friendship. It's based on the way they present themselves. And he, because he is born in a metal horse, not only is he tough as nails, but he is very conscientious of the way he presents himself. Monkeys can be sloppy, but they don't lose anything. They don't lose their intellect. They don't lose their capacity to love, or to work hard, or to stay with family. Horses have a problem with family because it may infringe on their liberty to run. That is, to run, in this sense, we mean to be able to take on new avenues of ideas and let's say, enterprises. And so the horse tends to be somewhat non-committal. The chicken, on the other hand, can shock you in their change, because what we know about the cock is that their nature breaks down, especially in the male chicken. The male Virgo has a more difficult time remaining continuous with his spouse. It tends that in humanity, the female chicken is much more attached than the male chicken. And so his second nature gives him the idea that being attached is a problem. And the horse sees that as curtailing his ability to move about. Now, if he comes back, it means there's something about you that he doesn't want to live without. And if he does come back, well, the saying goes that if the horse comes back to you, he belongs to you forever. So will he return? Well, it depends on what he sees out there. Given the condition of our society today, less and less women are willing to make commitments. You, as the double monkey, will make a commitment.
Yes.
But unfortunately for him, your commitments are going to be based on your idea of what a commitment is. Whereas he hasn't really determined commitment. He thinks of himself as independent
Right. He
forever.
doesn't think he has to think about commitment.
Right. He believes that he is an independent soul and he can do what he wants until he freezes a little.
Hi, Sylvia. Welcome.
Until he freezes a little because he's left the stable and now it's cold out there. And if you're the stable, he will return for sure.
What I want to say also, Napur, is when we look at destiny, that's going to be more looking at the Vedic astrology and what you want to do. And there are some really good programs as well. You can schedule a reading with us, but also there are some programs where you can enter your birth data and all of that, where you were born and all of that. And they'll tell you where your Rahu and Ketu are. And that's your north node and your south node. And those are really important planets to look at. And you want to look at what your destiny is.
Jyotish
in Jyotish, yes. So what you're looking at is your personal destiny, your purpose, your mission on this earth, and compare it to his. And that will give you a lot more insight as well in terms of where this is going, because what you're going to understand is where you're going. So just getting some idea of where those planets are in your chart. If you're able to go ahead and get that software and you want to ask us about, or go ahead and get that information and you want to ask us about your Rahu and Ketu are in these signs, I'm more than happy to answer those questions as well.
So the other thing to remember is that because he's born in a metal year, he tends to think in more concrete ways.
Right.
They're very fixed in his ideas, even if he doesn't communicate those. And he doesn't expect that you wouldn't know them. He would expect that you would know that they're concrete, even if he doesn't explain them to you.
Right.
Whereas you're
not privy to what's going on inside.
You're born in a water year. You're sensitive to what's going on in him. And you need to be, well, because water is elusive, you can be all over the place around him and he won't even know that you might be taking care of him. So you might have to remind him, this is who you are. This is what you're willing to do for him.
And especially with that Leo, he is going, like, you automatically just give him what he wants. Like, you already have it all set up for him. And he just thinks that that's how things happen.
Well, to begin with, you're a people person. You're a monkey. And he is not a people person. He belongs with the birds.
Right.
With
the horses.
Or should I say with the horses.
Yeah.
And they really don't really communicate with each other. Only long enough to copulate. And then they tend to not really... They run together, but they don't necessarily see eye to eye with one another.
And so some of the things also that you can look at in terms of more from the psychological realm and there's no communication is what she's saying right now. And we're going to read for Sylvia shortly, but I want to just kind of address this quickly with Napur. There's no communication with him at all.
Well, then you know what? You're the monkey. You're going to attract whomever you want.
That's right.
Because you are a people person.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about being alone very long.
What we know about you is that you work very hard. You work very hard for your family.
He will have the greater...
man that gets a monkey woman is a lucky man.
He
might
will
be
have
a little rough. But,
he will have the greater problem meeting someone else because he doesn't want to yield to other people. Whereas you yield automatically because you don't lose yourself in yielding.
Right.
You always contain yourself.
Right. The fire signs can make that compromise because we already know who we are. It doesn't sacrifice who we are.
You bring a rich person to any other person that you meet, whether they're friends or prospective lovers. You bring a lot of incredible intelligence and creativity. So you should not You should not have doubts about yourself. Because monkeys sometimes get angry
We
at
all do
themselves.
anyway, but yeah.
They get angry at themselves because they think maybe they didn't say the right things,
Right.
they didn't repeat the right things, they
Right.
didn't show up the right way. No, the other person has to make concessions too, and don't
That's
expect the
right.
horse to do that.
That's
The horse
right.
will coexist with you so long as no better place to go.
Women, fire sign women, all often forget because we all are prone to going into activity. We all forget that
And
the other person
and
has to
fire
show
sign
up. Yeah.
persons, which is one of them is Leo, they tend to overwork.
Right.
They tend to overdo.
Yeah.
Not so much the Aries, but then the Aries is capable of doing, but the Leo will definitely overdo.
Right.
Definitely.
Right, because it's a sign of children as well, the natural
Right.
fifth
Children
sign.
are ruled under the
Right.
sign Leo. These are things that we will get into as we go on with these sessions and are able to start giving a deeper and deeper knowledge
Right.
about this.
Most importantly, it's just important to just find a way to be self-soothing, decide, recognize what your purpose is, and use the tools and skills that you have to pull yourself out of at least the emotional, overwhelming sensation of it, because all that is trauma and grief. And so if we have a way to sort of bypass that and do a little hack and have some patience with ourselves, we can just find a way to focus on something else, like our purpose and our destiny.
Now, you indicate that he is not communicating with you, but when he does, here's what's important. You must ask him, why did you call?
Huh?
What
Yes.
is it that you want?
What is it that you do want?
Try to treat him the way he looks at you,
Right.
as someone who is taking up your time, rather than someone that you have to address to. So you need to use your intelligence, and you will do better off with people who are highly educated, because the water monkey is highly intelligent, and you can rub elbows with almost anyone, even whether they have a degree or
Right.
don't. You always come across as highly intelligent.
His daughter is a Capricorn monkey, 1980, and my grandson is a Libra monkey. Oh gosh, I know it, 2004, and always very charming, very personable, a professional.
But horses always act like as if they're alone. They're on their own.
So
Whereas monkeys are not afraid to be attached to someone and to say, I have this as my spouse.
exactly.
Horses tend to look at the spouse and say, I know her, but they're not necessarily, or you'll get the other side of the horse, which is pristine, they're perfect, they wear white, everything is polished, and you can't go near this type of horse because you just don't rate. We don't know what type of horse he is until we speak to him and get some idea. But these are the two contradictory sides of the horse. The West says the horse, or the China says the horse will either be a mare or they'll be a stallion. If they're a stallion, they'll tend to want to run alone. But if they make husbands, they're going to make fabulous husbands. If they're the mare type,
Hi, Liz.
they'll hang out in the barn
Welcome.
and be useless. So you have to know the Virgo horse. Well, we know that Virgo is one of the male signs in the Western zodiac that tend to, their personalities break down, and this could have frustrated you, and it's probably was
Right.
blaming you for his own deficiencies. This might have become very true, even though he may not have been having deficiencies. He may have imagined them, and maybe it's the way you are so confident in yourself that he may even be jealous of your strength. This is a very good, strong possibility, because horses are not very stable. They tend to be all over the place. So who knows?
When
maybe
they get there, right?
maybe
Yeah.
the fact that he left you might not be such a bad thing for you.
Right.
You need someone who is going to compliment you and give you feedback.
Well, and so mostly to wrap it up, just mostly for what's important for you is just kind of sit with what your purpose is on this planet.
And start to mingle with people who are of high caliber, because the monkey will attract almost any type.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how much education you
Right.
got. The monkey can hold its own almost in any audience.
Yes.
With any audience.
So we want to do Sylvia now,
Okay.
and hopefully if we can come back for any further questions.
Oh, by the way, if there are any more questions from Nipur, Call us at another time that we're
Oh,
live.
no. What? Yeah, no, yeah. Whenever we're here live, we're here we were a little late today, but every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. I mean, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 p.m. We're here doing live readings. So if you go and you get, it might, I may not be able to book with me right now or something like that, but you want to do like insert your information into one of the online, you know, um, software that with your birth data and all of that, and you have questions about that, then you can also bring that back and just say, oh, you know what, I have this here. What does that mean?
So who's next?
So we have Sylvia. Oh,
Sylvia.
and she was born January 25th, 1953.
So it's very possible
She's
that
actually going to, I
well,
believe
we don't know. We'd have to check
she
with
may
the calendar.
actually be a dragon.
Well, you'll
Let me
look it
double
up.
check,
You
yeah.
probably belong with the 53.
Yeah, so we
So
just want
you
to make
may
sure.
belong with the 1952 dragon, because in China, the year does not change on January 1st. It changes when the 13th moon has been completed. And since they use a lunar calendar, it does not fall with the 365-day calendar of the sun. They have, my recollection is 284 days, I believe, or 64 days. I'm not exactly sure.
It's 364,
300
365.
200 well, not 360, 264.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they it changes between, let's say, January 20th up to February 20th. So depending on the year, you may still be in the sign of 1952, which would be the year of the dragon.
Yeah, she's right.
1953 would be the year of the snake.
Cool. She's an Aquarian dragon.
An Aquarian dragon. Well, that's very powerful, because Aquarius is
Yogananda was year of the dragon.
Yogananda, right? But he was a Capricorn.
Uh-huh.
So you're born in the month of the tiger, and in the year of the dragon. Now it happens that in China, the elements of the animals go in sets of threes. So beginning with the tiger, it says a wood year. The cat, which is Pisces, the next was a tiger is Aquarius. The cat is Pisces. It's known in China as the rabbit, but they're the same. Cat and rabbit is another wood year. And the year of the dragon, which is Aries. So it's Aquarius, Pisces, and Aries. These are the wood group. It happens that the dragon resides in Aries. Now, Aries is a yang sign. Aquarius is a yang sign. They're both governed by wood, and you are born in a water year. Water is favorable to wood.
So you share your year with Marianne Williamson, by the way.
That's right.
Yeah.
The year,
not the sun sign, but the year.
Right.
And thank you so much for your questions, Nopur.
So an Aquarian dragon.
Water dragon.
This is a very nice combination. Very assertive. Very much yourself. You are the type that when you're quiet, you want to remain quiet, especially because both the tiger and the dragon want to be alone. Tigers like to be away from other tigers. Dragons like to be in a cave. So quietness is a very important part of both your month sign and your year sign. Both of them are considered to be very strong. China says all is nice and peaceful while the tiger sleeps. But then when the tiger rises, all must run. And everything is fine while the dragon is away. But when the dragon comes out of the cave, then awesome things happen. Could be great destruction. But dragons never destroy as a malice condition.
No, it's always
an accident.
Yep.
Well, let's take the dragon that we know of on TV. The movies are made on Godzilla. He comes out of the cave or wherever he's sleeping, and he does damage with his tail. Usually, he breaks things, not because he wants to. It's just his nature, because Aries is the sign of the doer. They just jump into things.
You know who is probably a really cool Aquarian dragon, which would be a really interesting way to discuss this, is Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln was a
He
dragon?
was an Aquarius dragon,
Oh, I
yes.
did not know that. Oh,
And so
okay.
now you see, right? So he's in his mind, he's idealistic about humanity, right? The humanitarian. It's really
Right.
important to
And the
him.
dragon is assertive. It is the sign that will always do, and it is fearless.
Right.
It is afraid of nothing. Whereas tigers, China says the tiger is not afraid of anything except one. And the tiger is afraid of what they don't know. So as an Aquarian, it's very important for you to get to know things. And the saying for Aquarius is, I know.
Right.
What they don't know is what they fear. But you're primarily the dragon. In China, you would be the dragon first. Your month is secondary nature. So what we do know about you is that there's naivety in your person.
Right.
And when we say you're naive, it doesn't mean you're stupid. It simply means that you have a pure heart.
You operate from a good faith place
Exactly.
at all times.
You're naive.
Right.
You're spontaneous as all hell.
Right.
When you decide you want something, it's already in the making.
Yes.
When you tell somebody, I think I should do this, you're already doing it, because dragons become instantaneous. One of the things that one will know about you is that you're always doing, and when you do things, it appears to be like magic, which is the sign of Aries, which is the doer. And in tarot, Aries is the magician. So the dragon is going to be somewhat like the Aries. It's going to be a magician.
Yes.
It makes things look like nothing. People may even envy you because they think you have some kind of special contact. Someone is helping you. Someone is on your side. But no, it is just your raw energy. You become filled by activity. You become filled. This is when you're awake and going.
Right.
But when you're sleeping or not interested, you're completely out of the picture. You don't disturb other people. You don't get in their hair. You don't get curious about all the little things that go on between people. If somebody's going to talk to you, they better have a full story that's interesting for you to listen to. And then you
Right.
could become their friend and tell them what you know, because you're willing to side with humanity. That is what Godzilla does. What does Godzilla do after it knocks everything over? It eventually has to fight the monster that is trying to kill mankind. And then Godzilla goes on to kill the monster. And what happens to him? He goes back to the cave, wherever he was, and he can't kill him. And China celebrates every Chinese year by burning the dragon. They burn a picture of the dragon when they celebrate the New Year, to give the New Year a chance that if it can beat the dragon, that year is invincible.
Yeah.
But what happens when it becomes the year of the dragon that they have to celebrate? They have to use another dragon because they don't have anything more powerful than the dragon. So this is part of your property and your astrological property, that you are a dragon in the month of the tiger. The tigers are very good friends. They're good-hearted. And dragons, they tend to be overwhelming when they're in action or completely absent. But if they're your friends, you couldn't get a better friend. And they would be
Yes.
the ones who will be willing to do the battle that you might not be able to. They will lend themselves. So you will lend
Yeah.
yourself to help others in ways others
You'll
wouldn't
go to
help
fight for
themselves.
someone, absolutely.
Right. You will do what they're not willing to do,
Or capable.
because that's your nature.
Right.
Your nature is to be 100% of who you are. So you could be misunderstood by many and maybe even envied by others. So you will not have a lot of friends, but they're going to be very special for the ones that are your friends. What else can we say about her as the
Well, we can
dragon?
also, so let's see, for example, there would be a tendency, well, the water also, and did you explain to her that the natural the element of the
Right,
dragon
the
is
natural
wood?
element of the dragon is wood. Well, I did mention that when I said that the wood
But
signs,
her year is
the
water.
wood signs are Aquarius,
Right.
Tiger, Pisces,
Yes,
the cat, and Aries, the dragon. But you're born in a water year,
Right.
and water comes before wood.
Right.
So water are the years that are enumerated as 2 and 3 at the end of their digits. So 1952, 53 are water years.
Or
62,
1960, right.
63 is water years. 72, 73 would be water years. 4 and 5 years are the wood years. So you're born in water, and water comes before wood, which means there's a little frustration because wood is like the roots of a plant. They're hidden and quiet, whereas water is not hidden and it's not necessarily quiet.
Right.
But water has these extreme qualities of being totally placid or monsoon, stormy. So this is what will happen when you get angry, but you're likely not to get angry that easily, because when you do, it's going to be with your whole heart. All of you will be involved. You never leave any part of yourself out of anything, even though the tiger doesn't want to. That means the Aquarian side of you, when you're thinking about it, you'd rather stay out of entanglements. And in your heart, you'd rather not. You'd like to be left alone. But when you become engaged in something, you are 1000%. Not one part of you is missing.
Right. So, and it represents the emperor.
And Aquarius is
right.
The dragon is considered in China
as well, right?
As the month of the emperor. You're born in the year of the emperor. Now you're born. The Aquarian is ruled by Saturn. We've been talking about what planets rule sun signs. Saturn rules Aquarius, and it rules Capricorn. Aquarius is Saturn is a planet that takes 29 and a half years to go through its full cycle. It takes a little over 2 years to go through a sign, and so does Mars. It takes the planet that rules Aries. It takes about 2.5 years to go through a sign.
Through a sign, or no, through the zodiac.
Through the zodiac.
Mars is through the zodiac.
Through the zodiac, because it's close to the Earth.
Faster,
right. It's close to the Earth. The Earth takes a year.
Yeah.
Mars takes 2.5 years. Yeah. Saturn takes 2.5, 29 and a half years to go through. So we can say about you as a Saturn rules a sign that it takes you a while before you make changes. It takes you a while to learn things, but you will learn them very deeply. At the beginning, you will be like a child that knows nothing, but Saturn is considered the scum or the lowest form of life at the beginning, but at the end, it becomes the Christ figure.
Right.
It becomes
King Arthur.
It becomes the teacher.
Yeah.
And it coincides with the mythological sign of King Arthur, who was to be fair with all mankind. And this is basically the way Aquarius is. It looks at all of mankind and tries to find a common denominator. Unfortunately, the Aquarian tends to be aloof. And of course, if you know anything about the Beatles, they sang the song called Fool on the Hill. And they were singing about Aquarius, because Aquarians tend to be so aloof, they're looking down at the other people doing all these maniacal things, that they tend to miss out on the activity at the end.
Right.
So they become the fool, even though they're watching everybody and learning from everybody, but they don't engage. So that's part of the problem. Unfortunately, that's not going to hold true. And it's not really an unfortunate thing, because you're the dragon, you're very much engaged. That's the difference between the tiger and the dragon. The dragon is very much engaged when it becomes active, when something is necessary. Whereas the tiger will tend to stay aloof as much as it can, no matter what's going on. So you have the blend of being able to discern when to engage and when not to. And we said that when you do engage, you engage 100%. So Saturn is about learning through time.
Right. Well, there's also, I would say, it's a very real, I'm sure in your life, you've probably had the experience as well of like, wait, did I just do that? What just happened? Because the Aquarius is a little more slower in processing. It's more mental. And so a lot of times you'll be doing things yourself. Like, did I do this? How did I do? I don't even remember doing that, because you operate so quickly. And also I want to say that dragons, they tend to be incredibly nice people.
But
the personalities, they're very sweet,
Aquarius,
because they come from a place of good faith with everyone.
Aquarius and the dragon tend to be more mental in their approach. The difference is that the Aquarian will not let you know what's going on.
Right.
The dragon, it's just a matter of fact. It's just going on all the time.
Right,
so
like everybody knows it. Yeah, right, yeah. Right.
So the dragon is going to be comfortable. Whatever. If somebody starts a conversation, they'll engage. And if somebody doesn't, they will not.
Right.
The tiger will try to stay disengaged, even as people try to probe.
And I noticed too, like, over the years when I'm looking at things and like I see what they mean, right? But then I gotta really sit and identify with how all of the energy works. Is it coming in? Is it going out? What would my thoughts be if I was ready to do something and but my mind is like, well, are you sure? So so when we're looking at like when I'm sitting down and I'm thinking about the dog, I'm it's funny as soon as I start reading for myself, all of a sudden my brain stops working.
Right.
Now I've developed a place where I kind of sit inside of the sign, and I realize that the way that we talk about energy and our regular isn't always necessarily the way that astrology refers to energy. So we have to sort of clarify at times as well. But also, what it does is when I do sit with it and I listen to the way astrology describes something, I understand it from and think of it in the context of how meaning has changed for us over thousands of years. So it's anyway, so whenever we're talking about those things, it isn't always what we think in this present time about what those things mean. There's definitely an orientation and a direction that astrology refers to, which may be different from what we understand individually.
Now, the Aquarian part of you, which is the way the mind is working, they don't blow bells and whistles. When they're at a place of work, they tend to survive there simply because they're consistent and they don't run away from a particular job or a particular type of responsibility. The dragon side of you, which is your heart, which is your intuitive nature, whereas the mind is your expressed ideas in your mind as you formulate. But the dragon side of you doesn't necessarily blow whistles and whatever the saying
No,
goes.
it's not a whistleblower.
It doesn't make a
even
lot
occur
of
to you.
noise,
No.
but it will look for opportunity,
Right.
and it will not make a lot of noise. They'll surmise in their own minds and their own hearts whether there's a condition for them to continue. And if there's not, they will quietly disappear from wherever they were and appear somewhere else. So dragons tend to be a surprise to most people,
Yes.
because they have their own willpower and they don't disturb others with that. They don't push it in other people's faces. If we look at Abraham Lincoln, it took him a while to try to convince the politicians that what he was after was far different from what they thought he was.
Right.
He was after something deeper.
Yes.
And a lot of people have the wrong idea of him, because the dragon will move without necessarily telling you what they're going to do, because they just do it.
They're so fast. Yeah.
They just do it. The Aquarian side moves by their own self-will, what is inside within them, and they keep that out of the picture so that they endure.
Hi, JG. Welcome. So actually Liz Reese had a question, but I want you to complete that.
I think unless she asks us other things, that usually we can give you more readings when you have other people, because we're able to compare you with other people, then other aspects of your sign will show up.
I really do want to. I do want to. So she wants to know about Ukraine. She's asked there. So we can have a conversation about that. I think that's a good idea. And I was a little late coming on, so I definitely want to address that.
Well, here we have a dragon that started this war. And like we said,
what they want to know is the birth. She actually gave me the birthday of Ukraine, August 24th, 1991. So to read for the country.
Oh, it's a Virgo chicken.
No, it's a Virgo goat.
A Virgo goat. Oh, okay. Yes. The goat doesn't listen to anyone. The goat has its own way. There's a story about the goat and the tiger. The goat is climbing up the hill. The tiger is going down the hill, and the tiger sees the goat. And says to the tiger, the goat says to the tiger, "You're in my way." And the tiger says, "I have to get down, and you're in my way." And the goat says, "Well, I'm not moving." And the tiger says, "You better move." The tiger says, "I'm not moving." The goat says, "I'm not moving." So the tiger answers back and says, "Well, you know what? If you don't move, I have no choice but to come down there and eat you." And the goat looks at the tiger and says, "Come on down and eat me." The tiger goes down there and eats him. So Ukraine is under the year of the goat. It will refuse to obey or to listen or to follow what is obvious.
Hi, Dolaka, welcome.
And Ukraine, in this manner, was refusing to listen to the greater country, which is Russia, Russia, which would be like the tiger, and Ukraine being the goat. So the tiger finally comes down and eats the goat. And now, when we look at Russia, it is run by Putin, who is a Libra, month of the dog, but the year of the dragon. Well, the dragon, in this case, is going to act like the tiger, because there's a similarity between dragons and tigers. So this is not good for Ukraine.
So here's what I want to say. I think this is a really important thing to note. And by the way, I just please everyone pray for those people and just everybody that's really suffering and getting bombed and starving, like everybody all over the planet. Please always keep them in your prayers and thoughts.
All right. War is no good for anybody, Carrie.
But so anyway, and this is how we're going to be on our channel. So
we'll have our disagreements, which is part of reading astrology.
So what I really want to say, by the way, about the goat. So we have, what do we have? We have this issue with, they wanted to join NATO. Of course, Putin's coming on. We don't know all the details. And I really just want to sort of present what this looks like astrologically more than anything else. And always compassion and love is where we're coming from. So the goat, what's the problem with the goat? The grass is always greener on the other side. And of course, what does Ukraine want to do? Well, they want to join NATO. And they have damn good reasons for wanting to do that, of course.
And they have better reasons not to.
Right. In some regards, right. And so, well, it's mostly, what
there was nothing happening to Ukraine before they decided to shake
actually, there was quite a bit going on, but we don't know the whole story. And so what you have with the goat issue.
The Russians have been warning Ukraine for a long time.
Yes, they have.
This is the goat that doesn't want to listen.
That's right. Right. And so, yes, that's what I was saying, is that this has been going on for a while. And with the Virgo,
I mean, what did Ukraine have to gain by joining NATO? Poland didn't get anything out of it. Czechoslovakia didn't get anything out of it. There was no reason for it. They could have stayed the way it was.
Well, yeah, of course, I understand. But I'm looking more along the lines of what would the astrological tendencies be. And so with the Virgo also, what's going on is you can get very detail-oriented.
What is her name, Liz?
Oh yeah, this is for Liz. This is but we're reading for Ukraine and kind of giving a general.
We're reading for the Ukraine.
Yes, the birthday.
We're reading to Liz.
She gave us
We're all right, not the Ukraine.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. No, Liz presented
about
us
the Ukraine.
About the Ukraine.
Right.
Yes.
So we're talking to her.
Yes.
Not the Ukraine.
Well, we're talking to everybody. Yes, but we're not talking to the Ukraine.
All right.
Yes, but it was requested by
Okay. Well,
So a lot of things that are happening in terms of, like, for example, the Virgo can be very hardworking, very detail-oriented, but can get lost in the details and make a request of demands, but have so much.
Keep in mind that Virgo is a sign that breaks down in its caliber.
And it also can represent its own self-undoing.
Right, it's a self-undoing.
Right.
It causes damage to itself.
House.
This is what's notorious about the sign Virgo. It is the sign of sorrows. And the goat can be extremely stubborn. In fact, in China, it is the most stubborn sign of the Chinese zodiac.
Yeah.
And so we have a situation in which it has nothing to do with Russia and Ukraine. It has to do with politicians. And I like to stay out of that because politicians, in my mind, are never good. I don't care what party they're from or what country they're in. Politicians are about power, and they take it away from the masses, and they assign it to themselves, just the small few in the world, and they want to rule everything.
Well, we
So
do
this is
have-
about politicians fighting with
Right.
each other.
So, right. So, I mean, we're still looking at the astrology. We're still looking at our consciousness. We're still looking at the way everything is going on the planet, in the solar system, in the universe. That really is what is this indicating this is a time for us spiritually.
Well, let's look at Russia. Isn't Russia been
And
put
so-
together in 1989?
Russia.
I think it was in 1989-90. So Russia is ruled by the snake. And
Well,
the
no,
snake
let me-
will not
no,
move
no.
until it's ready.
No, we got to look at. I want this
I
to
think
be
it was
accurate. I'm not
1989.
shooting from the hip on this.
Well, all right, you don't have to shoot from the hip. Maybe you have a vested interest in the Ukraine and Russia.
That people are asking
Well,
us about it.
let's find out. Let's find out. You can find out real quick here, and then we'll tell you what the dynamic is between the countries.
But
I would rather talk
but
about the
talking about-
politicians.
but I'm just talking about the overall energy with the Virgo and the goat.
Well, what is Russia?
Because they'll start in one place and then the grass can
But
be
you also
seen
have to
on the
account
other
for the
side.
sign of Russia to see how these two
I'm
get
doing
along.
that. Oh my God, this isn't going to work. And so I'm just trying to explain the self-undoing of the Virgo and the
Well,
grass.
you got that, but now let's see what Russia has to do with all of this. Because if it's a snake,
Well, I have somebody else that requested a reading for a different date. Oh, December, is that? And so I was not going to go reading Russia. I was going to read for them next, and I was just going to give a description
But
of Ukraine.
knowing Russia,
'cause
we
that's
will
not
get
what
the
we do.
interaction between the two.
Yes, I understand.
I'm pretty sure it was in 1989-90. That's what I remember when Russia was taken
Got
apart.
to look
The
at Kepler.
USSR had been taken apart around that year. So that it became Russia. Used to be Russia was at one time ruled by the snake when it was founded together the USSR in 1917, which was the fire snake. But I think they reorganized when the USSR was taken apart, and I thought it was
hold on,
1989,
I'll be back.
which happens to be also the year of the snake.
So we have one more I wanted to read for his birthday, but we were just having a discussion about.
All right. So how are you going to find out about
I'm going
Russia?
to find out. Yeah, but go ahead and keep talking about the meaning of Ukraine being a Virgo metal goat.
Well, as we were both talking about the Ukraine being in August 24th, I think it was, the sign Virgo, that would be its western sign, and its eastern sign 91 would be the year of the metal goat. Now, China says the goat is the most stubborn of all of the Chinese signs. As I gave you an idea of when the tiger and the goat meet, I didn't mean to bring in the tiger except for to show how stubborn the goat is. That while it's being threatened by the tiger, the goat stands up and wants to just snub out the tiger by just telling it, "You go away, I am not moving." While if it moved, it would stay alive and the tiger would pass. Then the goat would pass. But instead, it refuses to move, dares the tiger to eat him, and the tiger goes down and eats him. Now, this is something like what I see as the interplay between Ukraine and USSR. I mean, well, it's not USSR anymore, but Russia. Russia is being led by a dragon president, Putin. I'm not sure what Zelensky is. I think that's his name. I don't know what his birthday is. Carrie may come back with that.
Oh, well, yeah.
All right, so she's going to come and tell me what Russia is, so that
That's
we got
gonna
an
take a
idea
very
of how
long
these.
time.
We'll get an idea of how these two countries interact with each other astrologically. But I will reassert, and this has nothing to do with astrology, and that is that.
Oh yeah. Oh, so December's natal chart, at least this one. Yeah, she did tell us it's December 25th, 1991. But that's not. I don't know.
December
if that's-
25th, 1991.
Yeah, I have to go into my annals to get the.
That was you. That was the Ukraine.
No, that's Russia.
1991.
Yes, so Ukraine is also 1991.
Also the goat.
Yes.
They were both together.
So
Oh,
it's
that's
a
right, because they were broken up
Capricorn.
in 90. They were both broken up in
It's a
90.
Capricorn and
It's a
a
Capricorn.
Virgo.
It's a chicken in the year of the
No.
it's the buffalo in the year of the goat, and Ukraine is
A
the
Capricorn.
chicken born in the year of
No, right, chicken born year of the
born the
goat.
year of the
Right.
founded in the year of the
Right.
goat.
Right.
So there are two goats. One is the chicken, the other one is the buffalo. Well, the buffalo is going to be stronger. The
Yeah.
buffalo is about law and order.
Oh, God.
It tends to take its time to make decisions, and then it executes its decisions. It represents government. It represents
Right.
power. It represents political strength. It represents big government. While the Ukraine, born in the or founded in the chicken, is changeable, inconsistent, changes its mind. It does not hold on to things very long. It's constantly changing paths. So actually, we see this between Russia and Ukraine. The Ukraine
Right.
going on and off with its ideas, and Russia being very consistent and plotting like the buffalo, slowly but surely, and then finally acting with strength.
And I think, you know, what we're going to do is I'm so sorry because we're just about toward the end of the show. This is a really big conversation.
Now the goat.
So what I want to do is we'll have a brief description. I'll do the individual reading, and we're going to really dig into this topic much more.
So you should come back to us, and we'll look at this, because this involves politics, which
right.
I
What
tried
we'll
to stay
do
out
is,
of.
well, you know what? We'll in the live readings we'll present the Ukraine and the
Right,
Russian relationship.
Right. In our next reading,
Yeah.
we should be able to do that.
Yeah, we'll just start having that conversation, and
So on Friday we will
right.
cover this
And
topic.
just when we go into talking about politics,
It gets very touchy.
well, no, we all have preferences, but what I really look at is really operating from a place of love, and really operating from a place of good faith.
Right.
And when we have
nobody
the
likes people
discussion,
being killed.
right.
I'm not a pro. I'm not pro war in any sense
right,
of the
and when we
word.
have that discussion, I just want it to be really in a place where we're very organized and respectful toward everybody involved. So what we're going to do is we're going to really have a big discussion about Ukraine and Russia, and I really want to check with the birth charts because I'll be able to get more accurate data. And so I'm not just blowing smoke when we're talking to and discussing that, but just in general, like with a Capricorn, it's the natural ruler. It's the sign of King Arthur. So they're, in a sense, they also feel a sense of entitlement. They want their own upward mobility. They want to advance themselves. They want to advance their power. And that's part of it.
And China says that the buffalo
Right.
gets along with the monkey, likes the monkey. The monkey is the United States.
Right.
1776 fire monkey. And the buffalo here is the metal Russia's the metal buffalo. So while the buffalo and the monkey like each other, metal doesn't get along with fire.
Right,
And
there's
neither
a lot of
does the
friction.
Ukraine, because
Right.
it's also metal year. So this love relationship between the United States and Ukraine is not a very deep one, because you have fire against metal still. So I wonder why the United States is in this at all. Why they got into it.
I know they're laughing at us because we were like, what?
Well, no, I have my suspicions as to the integrity of this battle.
Right, I
at
know.
all.
Yeah.
Why it even occurred, it should not have.
Right. So we'll look more in terms of that. And we'll keep that conversation going. I think it's very important. Let's do. I want to give.
And by the way, we're worried about people dying, but the Russians are also got people being killed. I mean, it's not just the Ukraine.
Well, that's
Ukraine
the whole
is suffering
thing. Everybody
more.
that comes to our channel are people that are really politically sophisticated and kind.
Well, Russia is going to be much more powerful than the buffalo. Is going to be way more powerful than the chicken.
Right.
Because the buffalo has consistency, very methodic. The chicken is unruly. It's
Oh,
all over the place.
oh, so this is, oh, he wants to know, oh, I see, 2,
Who's
4,
he?
oh, so this is, Dolakia.
Dolakia.
Dolakia, I'm gonna write his name for you.
Dulakia.
It's really interesting.
Lakia. What about? What's
Oh,
the
okay,
birth?
so his birthday, and welcome, India. You guys, thank you so much for coming. I so appreciate it. So he was born, it's February 4th, 1998. So, and he's
1998.
so he's asking about his entrance exam, or passing his judiciary exam. He has to take a judiciary exam.
He's a double tiger.
Yes, but let me double check and make sure that I have the date
the
correct.
month appears to be the month is definitely the Aquarius, the tiger.
So just explain to him, because he wants to know if he's going to pass his judiciary exam.
In
But
98, well,
right, explain
we're
to him the
moving into
difference.
this
with
is the
how
year
this
of
works.
this is the year of the tiger that we're in now, and it appears that you are also the tiger. We're
He's
checking.
a 98 tiger, so he dominates this
Well,
year.
is he?
He's
Is
an
he?
Earth tiger.
It
Oh, let
looks
me
like
check.
that the
Okay.
tiger did come in on the before the after the
Let me
4th.
just do that Chinese animal.
We want to make sure that the tiger didn't go on until February 5th or 6th or 7th. Then, I mean, not the tiger, the year before, which is before the tiger
buffalo.
is the buffalo. We're going to double check to make sure that the year of the tiger came in at your birthday. But the month is definitely the tiger. That's the tiger corresponds to the month of Aquarius. Now, the year that we're in is the year of the tiger, which would be like the month of Aquarius, except that the Aquarius is ruled on. I should say the tiger is ruled under the element of wood, and this year is the element of water. So this is very good for you because water promotes wood.
He's a tiger.
So okay, it's been checked that you are born in the year of the Earth, 98.
98, yeah.
The Earth tiger. We are in the water tiger.
So you dominate this year.
So now you dominate, but there's a problem when you dominate in China. When you dominate, it means that things come easy and you may overlook many things because you're confident. Whereas in China, it's unlike our Western system where water and earth mix. In China, the elements are about movement, and earth stands still while water wants to run. So who dominates? Earth does. So you are born, now we are going to take your test during the Earth tiger.
No, he's taking it during the water tiger.
The water tiger.
Yeah,
but keep in mind that the tiger's element is wood, so tiger is still stronger in this year.
Right.
And you happen to be Earth tiger,
yes,
which is going to be stronger than water.
Right.
So there's a lot of confidence in you. So the only thing that can go wrong with you is that you may think that you're already ready. What you need to do is to sit quietly with yourself, almost in a meditated state, and go over your exam, go over all that you studied, and let your mind zoom through the ideas. And it will stop where there is a question in your head which hasn't been answered. This may be the part that you haven't been really prepared for.
So I would have to have your chart specifically directly in front of me.
To do
but we can look at, as far as you being an Earth tiger and this year being a water.
Jyotish would have a better answer for you.
And I'm sure he's familiar with Jyotish.
However, I can tell you that given that the elements that we are that are being indicated, you have the ability to overcome if you can be quiet with yourself, meaning your higher elements, your higher consciousness dominates. And then you will have the opportunity to use that strength that you have, because earth conquers water. So you are in a very powerful position because you're safe. You're safe because this is the year of the tiger. You're born in the month of the tiger and in the year of the tiger. The difference is that earth against water, but then tiger has an element that's against earth. The tigers are naturally ruled by wood, and wood dominates over earth. So you've got two positions that dominate over water. So you could become overconfident, or you maybe not overconfident, but you may think that you've done enough study. In other words, you're comfortable prematurely. So what I say is go over everything twice, maybe 3 times. It doesn't hurt. Maybe when you go over things the second and third times, each time do it a little bit more superficially instead of going intensely. because you'll tend to wear yourself out. When elements control other elements, it doesn't mean that they necessarily totally win.
Right. We still have to
What-
exchange energy.
What
Yeah.
happens is that the element is in control. It works hard to maintain that control. So that means you may have exhausted yourself this year. So now you need to rest, and you need to go over it in a light way, even superficially. It may seem ridiculous. It may seem that, what am I doing this for? I already saw it again. But the next time around, you'll notice something. You'll notice something you missed, or you'll notice there's something that wasn't completely clear for you.
So
That only way you'll get to that point is to deal with it superficially, because I'm sure you did the hard work, but the hard work is not enough. You need to let some of the more, let's say, immeasurable ways, things that you don't take into account, that you may have become expert at one thing, but you might have missed something very superficial.
Right. So without a doubt. So mostly just make sure that you review the things that you know that you kind of had a little struggle with, kind of some of the sneaky things. But really, I really see that as far as just based on the element and the year that we're in right now.
And most of all,
we really see you coming out on top.
What I'm about to tell you is beyond astrology. When you sit back quietly, remind yourself that you will do your best, and then study superficially. Always reminding yourself that you're prepared to do your best. Because that mindset will have you notice things that weren't obvious at the beginning, or things that may seem trivial to you, but not trivial on the test. So you need to identify those simply by orienting your mind to do your best. Because then when your mind is thinking its best, it'll pick up the things that it missed before.
And it's the perfect question for an Aquarius year of the tiger to ask, because they're about to take a test. And the one thing about the tiger that the tiger has fear about is fear of the unknown and nothing else.
Right. The unknown.
Just the unknown.
So you may be afraid of things that are not real. They're not really
or haven't happened
problem.
Yet.
That haven't happened, but are not a problem either.
Right, that aren't a problem.
So it's okay for you to be afraid. Don't think that means you're not ready. However, go through the process that I mentioned. That you think in a very light way over everything, and remind yourself that you're doing your best, and that you're going to look out for anything that you might have missed. Just casually go through everything several times, because each time you might unveil. It's like tearing an onion apart, one little layer at a time, and that's when you begin to discover. And you'll do well because you're setting your mind in motion to do your best.
Right. And since you're at this place, there's a really good chance that you have some excellent study habits. So
well, Aquarians are very good at tests. Aquarians are very good at tests.
Oh, so she wants to, can I clear, let's see. Oh, if you want to take it in 2023 or 2024. Oh, that's interesting. So next year.
What?
Oh, he's wants to know, just answer quickly.
This is
short. Either in 23. So you would be, this is Dolakia.
Dolakia.
So if you take it in 2023, now that's going to be year of the
water cat.
Water cat. Okay.
Oh, the water cat is very good.
That would be very good for you.
Good. Well, he's still in a position of power.
Right.
Except the cat has a looser way. It's more ethereal. It's more encompassing. The cat will give you certain laxity.
It'll kind of help you fill in the gaps.
And it's a more relaxed. It's a more relaxed year for you.
And then 2024. That's going to be
the wood dragon. Well, that's
is it the wood? Yeah, the wood dragon. Yes. So that
well, the wood dragon is going to control him, so he's going to be more methodical in his way. He'll be more, let's say, sober. Because the dragon is the friend of the tiger, but the wood controls earth. So you're going to obey the forces around you much more than now.
Right.
Now you are in charge.
So a better year for you would probably be 2023 if that's an option.
The only thing that can go wrong now is that you might be overconfident and you're fearing only the outcome. But the other part of you is already feeling that you're in charge.
Well, his question was actually, is it better in 23 or 2024 to do the test? So this year would be ideal. Next year would be ideal.
I don't think this year is ideal.
Oh, not this year. Well, he's not going to be able to take it this year. So we're going to 23
because
or to 4.
the tiger is in charge, and but the element is in charge.
Yes.
No, his element is in charge.
Right, exactly.
In 24, the year element will be in charge.
That's what I'm
But
saying.
the animal will be great friend of the tiger.
Exactly.
Because it'll be 2 woods. His wood nature will work. So the only thing that can happen in 24 is that he has to yield to the powers around him. He'll be more yielding to what the test is about, whereas now he may be overcoming the test.
Okay, all right.
So now he's in charge, and so he may think he's already done with it. But in 24, he's going to feel like, I better check again. I better check again.
So in 2023, then it's going to be more of an intuitive process. In 2024,
2023 is better than 2022.
Right.
It's a cat.
Right, and 2024 is going to be more about.
The cat is very ingenious, but he may be fooled in the cat.
2023, we're going to talk 2023 and 2024. 2023, 2024. 23 is going to be more intuitive. 2024 is going to be more structured.
If we give him a reading at another time, maybe if he gives us a heads up, we'll take a look at some of the ephemeral positions of his chart and give him a reading out of the planets, which is much more thorough than what we're doing here.
Sometimes we can pull that off, but normally what you would do is if you're unable to book a reading with us, if you're able to bring your birth time but they have
then that's a whole different story.
He might actually have that.
Well, then that's a different story. He has to talk to us.
Right. So we don't. Yeah, we don't.
Private.
We don't typically do readings.
That's private.
Right. It's private readings from
from
the birth chart.
The air.
What we can try to if there's. We'll see what we can do if it's quiet in the room when we first.
Well, we don't want to do that on the air in either case. It's got to be private.
Right.
A full reading, because that gets into his personality much more deeply.
Right. So the readings that we do are we're not calculating them using
these are somewhat superficial. It's just to give you an idea of how we can start interpreting astrological positions, just using the very, very surface aspects of astrology, which is dealing with the planets and the signs, but not where all other planets are located, and in Jyotish, how they affect you in a sort of like longer periods of time, where some prediction can be made, and they can be somewhat accurate. Jyotish astrology, the Indian astrology, is much more accurate than Western and Chinese.
Well, the
Chinese is more accurate than Western.
And he was, I'm just writing this down. So you know what? I put your information in. We'll see if maybe it's possible that we can, if you don't mind, if we use it when we're presenting to people as well, having conversations about it.
Presenting what?
So, we can talk about like, his question was this from this time.
Well, if we can get to that
if we can do that, but we don't typically do, what we do is just the date of birth for those particular combinations.
These are somewhat superficial to give people an understanding of the other elements of astrology, which most astrologers do not cover. And that is why there's 2 of us here, because we present 2 viewpoints, and as well as from time to time when it is appropriate, Carrie will bring in the Jyotish. But to do a Jyotish chart requires a lot of calculations to put everything in its proper place.
That already.
And we will tell it from time to time over and over again. Those other people are listening.
So, so anyway, so just we're just doing the Western and Chinese, and from that's perspective and that base, the years the way that you would take the test, the 23rd would be more from an intuitive place, and the way that you would take the test on the 24th that would be more structured and ordered because of the wood.
One of the
It would
things
keep
I
you
can say
organized. Yeah.
to
Dolakia.
Lakia is if there's any little fear, this is okay. Do not consider the
Really?
fear as a serious setback to you. It's a natural part of your being. It's the way you operate. Without fear, you cannot survive. The fear is that you want to know more. And that's one of the reasons why Aquarius is considered the sign who has 1 foot on earth and 1 foot in space. It is the sign that is the sign of gains. And so Aquarians tend to do well in almost everything they do. So let fear be okay with you. And just go over the things that you would do as a matter of fact, just as a matter of practice. No serious worry about it, because worry will always exist. It doesn't matter how you accomplish. You could get 1,000. You can get a perfect score on your exam. You'll still have fear. In any event, we hope that you enjoyed this today's program, and we look forward to the next one.
And yeah,
I'll close and say goodbye, and Carrie will have the last word.
all right. So you know what? But anyway, so on Friday I will take a little bit of a peek at this because this is a really good.
What the Ukraine? Yeah.
That as well. No. At Dolakia's question, because I would like to, if you don't mind, I would like to present that as well so people can kind of see what that process looks like a little bit.
How are you going to look into it?
You know what? We're going to close right now, and then we'll talk about that amongst ourselves.
Okay, that's fine.
So, and then we will also have a conversation ready for Ukraine and Russia. It's a huge conversation, and I just don't want to just shoot from the hip on that. So, but as we're closing, I just want to give a shout out to my favorite channels, and I hope that you guys also appreciate them. The Spirit Within. Shout out to Linda G, the Comanche Psychic. So, and thank you so much for sharing our first introductory video on your channel. Black and Orange Channel, or Black and Orange Tarot, Sterling, Celtic Tarot, The Way of Positive Change, Intuitive View, Third Eye Champagne, and also a really talented Vedic astrologer named Joni Patri. And just, so they're great channels to check out, and they have been so helpful for me in terms of finally getting enough confidence to actually come online. So that's it. And everybody, please, always so much love from us, and always pray for peace and pray for connection and pray for love. And we're going to keep everything interesting. It's always going to be interesting. We don't have to be miserable to keep things interesting. So have a great day, everyone, and we will be back Friday. So much love. Bye-bye.
Thank you.